You already know what it is. Your boy G. Bush, Ultimate Browns, right back again. It is 5 o'clock. Time to get it going. Got a great show planned for you. We're going to tell you in today's show why. Brandon Aiyuk, Browns and Brandon Aiyuk have been in the mix in the rumor mill for about 3 to 4 months, it seems like now. I'm going to tell you why, even though I'm the captain of Project Stockpile, I want no parts of Brandon Aiyuk in a trade. We'll come back and deliver that news. And I know, go ahead. He's the Duke and knee-jerk, but we don't want no parts of that. We'll come back and dissect this right here on this episode of The Ultimate Browns. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes of sports. It's your boy G. Bush talking Browns like we always do. Tuesday, 5 o'clock right here on the Ultimate Browns. Got a great show planned for you. Let me talk about draft logic. We're going to get into why the draft logic around offensive, defensive linemen is tragically flawed. We've done this a little bit before, but a lot of people, you know, have been attacking me online and like, G. Bush, we're talking about the offensive line, and how can you say that you don't win in the trenches and how you can't build through the offensive line, and that's where your championships are running, and the Eagles have done it. I'm going to give you a brief history since 1999 of these attempts to build through the line and give you the flawed thinking that you could just build and grab linemen without having a signal caller to win a Super Bowl or to go deep in the playoffs. We'll talk about that. Draft logic is all the way around too. There's another one. It's called big city bias. I don't understand how it is that you got guys that will basically say, hey, let's take Shedeur Sanders at number 3 if he falls to the Giants, because the Giants are, you know, even though they've signed a guy like Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal, even though they got Tommy DeVito backing up who started some games, and they're still saying that if Shedeur Sanders falls to number 3, the Giants will run up to the podium and take him. And I said, why is that okay for them to do? But it's flawed. It's short-sighted. It's reaching at one spot higher for the Browns. We got to take a look at this. This is wild. People have been getting me on this all. It just don't make no sense. But first, let's get to this. I'm out on Brandon Aiyuk and the Browns. I'm out on this move. I was a little more interested earlier in the year before when Brandon Aiyuk was holding out last year, and he basically held out, got $121 million, and ended up tearing his ACL last year. The San Francisco 49ers look like they're rebuilding. 49ers have already moved on from Deebo Samuel. They're trying to find money in the books to pay their quarterback coming up, and it just looks like they are trying to move off Brandon Aiyuk. Last year, he had over 400 yards, and he definitely had one of his worst years in terms of production because he went out week 7 with the ACL. Also, lowest PFF rated grade per season that he's had since he's been in the league. Let's take a look at some of this noise, so to speak, around Brandon Aiyuk. And this is a article, and it kind of talks about Tony Grossi of ESPN in Cleveland, beat reporter for them, talked about why it not only doesn't make sense maybe physically because of the ACL injury, but why it doesn't make sense when it comes to the cap ramifications, because he just signed that big new deal. So recently, a rather strange rumor surfaced concerning the Cleveland Browns potentially pursuing a trade for San Francisco wide receiver 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. While the Browns did try to land Aiyuk last year, the newest rumor definitely came out of left field given Cleveland's current situation, that is, current cap situation. However, ESPN Tony Grossi has shot down the speculation, stating that an Aiyuk trade simply doesn't make sense for the Browns from a financial perspective. If they trade for him, he's got an $11 million cap hit next year, which is actually even higher than Jerry Jeudy's. Grossi said you're going to pay him $25 million in cash due to him this year, and then on April 1st, another guarantee for next year of $25 more million is also triggered. Everyone in Cleveland had a miserable salary cap situation. Everyone knew that Cleveland had a miserable salary cap situation heading into the offseason. So even though the 4-year, $120 million extension Aiyuk signed with the 49ers before 2024 campaign is heavily backloaded, it just wouldn't fit into the Browns' plans monetarily. Now, put it in perspective with this as well. It's just not that cap hit that he's talking about there. It's other things that you have to take a look at because they want something for him. They're not going to just be hanging around out and looking to get Brandon Aiyuk for free. They want either Greg Newsome. There's been reports of that. They either want a starter player like Greg Newsome or Wyatt Teller. Also, they may want a late round pick, maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick. And so for me, when you ask me about Brandon Aiyuk, look, to me, he's probably the same type of guy you already got in Jerry Jeudy. He's 26, 27 years old. He's not what we would call a bona fide up top one type receiver. If the Browns were going to do this, it made more sense to pursue a guy like DK Metcalf, who is a bona fide number 1 receiver, who does not have some of the injury issues that Brandon Aiyuk has. And look at the compensation that the Steelers gave up for him. So these are things that I would be more interested if the Browns really needed a receiver and they wanted to do that. You already have Jerry Jeudy. I think of these guys as comparable receivers. Jeudy is coming off one of his best seasons as a pro. He's getting $17 million a year, I think, as opposed to the $30 million that you got to give Aiyuk. So to me, I'm not interested, and I'm the leader of Project Stockpile. But here's the thing: I don't have the bag to be giving him like that. And it's not even like if we did have the bag, I would still have questions because I'm like, okay, what routes are you going to run that differentiates or diversifies our playbook? Are you a super burner? And not crazy. Are you a gadget guy? Nah, not crazy. Is you a real quick twitchy guy? Nah, not crazy. Like, no, I can't move like that. Like I need to have something that you're going to diversify from what we already have. And so when you look at that, plus coming out of 7 months at ACLs, or 7 weeks into the season last year, that puts you about what? October, November? I mean, you're talking about he's still in his rehab tough. He's not going to be coming out in and out of breaks and being ready to go. And you got to learn a new quarterback, and you got to learn a new system. He's going to be in a different different system with a different situation with a team that's going to be rehabbing with him, all that good stuff. And to me, it just don't make no sense. It just does not make a lot of sense. And if you wanted to get a receiver that bad, hey, just go draft Travis Hunter. Right? You got a number 2 overall pick. You got a top flight guy like Travis Hunter who can play special teams. He can play defense. He might be the only transcendent player. Maybe him and Abdul Carter in this draft. Cam Ward possibly. Take him and keep it pushing. But no, I'm not in it for a couple of reasons. And, Brandon Aiyuk looks like he's going to be one of those guys that his name is going to be dangled a lot because he's making a bunch of money. The 49ers has already moved on from Deebo Samuels, and they might be doing a soft reset over there with the 49ers. And I'm not giving them no picks for that either. So with that being said, that was the easiest first segment we didn't have here in a long time. I am absolutely out on it. You let me know in the comment section whether or not I'm tripping on this, because for me, it's for me. But coming up next, what we're going to get into, and we're going to get into a nice one, man. This draft logic for the Cleveland Browns when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, it doesn't make no sense to me. I don't understand how you could be good with one team taking the guy, but one pick earlier, yes, a reach. We'll come back and talk about that right here on this episode of The Ultimate Browns. All right, let's talk about our great people over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you first $5 bet win. So you got to have the first $5 bet win, and you get $200 in bonus bets if that happens. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets, man. So, I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year. I'm a little sad that Akron is not going to be rolling like I wanted them to. But FanDuel is going to make it easier to back and get the spreads and do totals and props and some other things to help me win back some of my money. Stay in the action, man. With tournament games happening almost every single day, there's always something exciting to bet on. It's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly, and I don't gotta wait around for anything. So visit FanDuel.com and get the college hoops action and all tournament long. FanDuel. All right, welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all of sports. We back again right here on the Ultimate Browns, your boy G. Bush right here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and make sure you put some comments in the comment section if you agree that right now, I'm not in on Brandon Aiyuk. Where you guys stand on that? Put that in the comment section as well. Let's get to this. Let's get to this draft logic. And this was something that got sparked up, and I think Spencer German, who does the Locked On Browns, he was kind of talking about this, and I wish I had the tweet to put up there. And he basically talked about how there's this thought process that, the New York Giants, even though they've done some things to bolster their quarterback room, that if the Shedeur Sanders was to be passed on the Cleveland Browns at pick number 2, that Shedeur Sanders would be right in line to be drafted by the New York Giants. Now, here's my problem with this, is because we've seen this a little bit, and we talked about this a little bit in terms of a lot of the national media guys and a lot of the media guys that are talking about this who have these mock drafts. They seem to be blinded by sort of the hypocrisy and ridiculousness at which they go about making these opinions be known. Like, case in point, let's get to this. So Adam Schefter tweeted this. This was earlier today on the Pat McAfee show, that the Giants quarterback room is and continues to be a work in progress. Even after they signed veteran signal caller Jameis Winston last week, the Giants also re-signed Tommy DeVito and are very much in the market for free agent quarterback Russell Wilson. Schefter believes that even if Wilson ends up signing in New York, the G-Men could select Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders with the 3rd overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft in April. Because of how much the Giants have struggled at the quarterback position, they're going to do anything they can to address that in the short term and the long term in free agency in the draft. Whether Sanders is the Giants starting quarterback week 1 of the 2025 season, in another story, and that would likely depend on whether or not Wilson or Aaron Rodgers is on their rosters, right? So this is a story by a guy named Keith Hernandez, and this was Adam Schefter who said this on Pat McAfee show. Now watch how crazy this is, right? So let me get this straight. So the Titans are picking 1. They're going to take Cam Ward. The Browns are on the clock at 2. But all offseason, we've heard people telling us on the national media that you don't reach on a quarterback. Why would you reach on a quarterback? The Browns have way too many holes to reach on quarterback. I mean, you could get generational players in Abdul Carter, generational players at this position, at Travis Hunter. You can't reach on a quarterback. These quarterbacks would be 5th, 6th, 7th, down the line if they were on last year's quarterback board. They've told us all year about how these quarterbacks ain't it, what they ain't going to do, and all this good stuff. But don't you notice something, Browns fans? Every single time they want to get us to talk about something, they forget that you guys tell us not to do it, but then praise other teams for doing it right behind us. So if Shedeur Sanders is a reach, if Shedeur Sanders ain't no good, Shedeur Sanders can't play, ain't nobody got a 1st-round grade on him, even though you brought in Jameis Winston on a 2-year deal, you've already been visited by Russell Wilson, you already have Tommy DeVito signed, and you telling me you're going to use the 3rd overall pick on a quarterback too? But those same options available to the team above you at number 2 is dumb, short-sighted, you guys are being fleeced. Come on, man. Are you serious? How is it that it's okay for you to see why a team like the Giants, who don't have a quarterback, competing in a division where they got to deal with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders and deal with the Philadelphia Eagles and deal with the Cowboys, and they're sitting down there running around without a quarterback, you can see why they would go and get a quarterback no matter. They're going to fix this because they've been that bad. Well, what the hell are the Cleveland Browns then? Are the Cleveland Browns not in that same position? Are the Cleveland Browns not been starved for a quarterback longer than the Giants? Like, it's crazy. It's this. It's okay if they do it, and it goes back a lot. Like we admit that we missed on Deshaun Watson, but let's not act like everybody else in the league and 7-8 other teams was not in line for Deshaun Watson. Let's act like the Dolphins weren't there, or the Falcons, or the Saints, or the Panthers. All those teams down there was linked to Deshaun Watson, just like the Browns were. But when it comes to them squads, oh no, it's a different set of rules. Come on, man. Case in point, let's look at this. So this is former NFL general manager Mike Tannenbaum released a 2025 mock draft on Tuesday via ESPN. In this exercise, Tannenbaum pretends to be an individual NFL general manager, making each pick. Tannenbaum made what of a surprising pick, having the Browns selecting Travis Hunter over Shedeur Sanders with the second overall pick. His thought process was, Cleveland needs a quarterback, so I consider Colorado Shedeur Sanders here, but it also needs a cornerback, and a receiver help, Tannenbaum wrote. Hunter is an extremely rare player, having played more than 1,000 career snaps on both of these positions. Tannenbaum noted that Cleveland's defense struggled against the pass in 2024. They finished towards the bottom of the league in opponent quarterback rating, yards allowed per play, and interception rank. Hunter could pair nicely with Denzel Ward, an elite cornerback in man coverage. He could also take a few occasional snaps on offense. Listen, and first and foremost, this is my problem. Don't tell me what we gonna do some occasional stuff. Ain't no such thing as no occasional. If I draft Travis Hunter too, he gonna play all the time. That's because I'm gonna make sure he gonna get his money off. I'm gonna make sure I get my money's worth. Second of all, how is it that y'all understand? Oh, with the Giants, they played terrible. I'm pretty sure the Giants aren't very good against the pass. I'm pretty sure the Giants ain't got a good defense. The Giants ain't good enough because they pick it in the top 3, just like the Browns. But you're going to say we need to go a different route? Man, look, man, I'm not dumb. I'm not going to keep doing this, man. And to be honest with you, I'm actually excited for this draft to be done with. And get over it and be done with it. Because here's what I'm not going to keep doing. I done had this whole offseason where I done had to try to talk myself into Kenny Pickett, Carson Wentz. I done had to talk myself into Kirk Cousins. I done had to talk myself into having visits with Russell Wilson. Guys that nobody else wants. Teams that have already moved on, laughed, wiped their hands of it, and they continue to move forward. And the Cleveland Browns are dealing with retreads and telling us to take defensive linemen because or cornerbacks, or no. We're gonna we'll address those moves. We'll address those positions. But those positions will be addressed after we figure out what was at quarterback. Under no circumstances at all. Nope. We're not going to do it. They've been getting this money off. I'm like, man, you guys always telling the Browns what they need to do. They don't understand it. And then the next sentence, it'll be, well, the Giants or the Cowboys or these other teams, these big city teams be getting all of this benefit of the doubt, and yet and still you want us to tell us to start Kenny Pickett and see if we could find something when you're laughing all the way to the bank. And when we're 4-something next year, well, the Browns, they still don't have a quarterback. Well, I wonder why. When we get back, we're going to get to this. Let me tell you this. Not only am I tired of dealing with, let me move this out the way. Not only am I tired about moving with this, we've been wrestling back and forth with y'all talking about this noise with these linemen for years. G. Bush, you just draft a lineman every single year, draft 2 of them. I'm going to tell you why that's flawed. I'm going to tell you why the Browns have been drafting linemen. They just sucked. And while you guys want to talk about linemen and all that good stuff, I'm going to show you where you're flawed and where do linemen really push the needle like that? Since 1999, I'm going to tell you no. We'll come back and talk about it. It's G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Browns. Speaking of, man, let's get to our ultimate shows. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Cavs 10, 11, 12 game. I think somewhere 10, 11 games we're getting down to the nitty gritty when it comes to the playoffs. Make sure you check out Mikey McNuggets, Jason Lloyd on the Ultimate Cavaliers. My man Earl the Pearl is back, Ultimate 216, man. Shout out to him. Mix of sports and culture. Make sure you go ahead and watch that, get that together, and be ready to go with the Ultimate 216. Baseball season is here, Guardians. Zach Myers, Adam the Bull will be dropping Ultimate Guardians pods, starting here really, really soon on a consistent basis. Make sure you check them out. And, of course, Tuesdays, right here during the season at 5 p.m., Ultimate Browns. Your boy G. Bush is in the building. And don't forget, I'm doing double duty. Make sure you check out 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here on UCSS, right here in the barbershop. We got the barbershop on UCSS. Make sure you check out all those channels. And if you just hit that like and subscribe button, you'll know when we're going live. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. It's your boy G. Bush, right back again, right here with the Ultimate Browns. I wanted to get to this, man. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Here's the problem. We've been having a little bit of a problem when it comes to talking about these drafts. And look, don't get it twisted. I like watching football. I've been entrenched in football. I played offense, either offense or defense in my line my whole life. I played Division I. This is the first thing I look at when it comes to tape. I've helped at camps. I've helped at college camps, high school camps. Defensive line play and offensive line play is what I watch preferably. It's what I dedicated half of my life to, watching guys in the trenches. And I understand how great it is and how important it is on a really good team and on championship teams to have good offensive linemen, to have good push up front, to have some dominant lines, right? Those are the places I've had an opportunity to even play on some of those lines where it's like, man, it's another level that a lot of people don't understand, that when you can get a line that can get after the quarterback, that you can root people off the football, you can come off the ball and punch people in the mouth and get first downs, you can stop the run, man, it makes the game much easier. But as I've come around and I've looked around and I've watched the game, studied the game, I understand how important that is. There is another part of the game that we must take in consideration, and that part has been the quarterback play. Quarterback is the most important position. We all know this. I don't want to boil it all down to quarterback because, yes, if you have two good quarterbacks, kind of like you saw in the Super Bowl, you have a great team with Patrick Mahomes. You have a great team with the Philadelphia Eagles, two good quarterbacks. Yes, it matters how great your defensive line is. And Philadelphia showed people what you can do if you can stop another quarterback and have great linemen to rush forward, to stop the run and get pressure on quarterbacks. They showed you that. There's no debating that. But here's some things I do want to debate. When it comes to not having or building a team, the first thing that you got to have is the quarterback. And I think the Cleveland Browns have been trying to do that for a while. I also think they've been trying to invest in the offensive defensive line for a long time. I'm going to show you in this list. Since 1999, the number of people that they've invested high draft picks and high capital on in the trenches is a lot. I think a lot of times we get caught up in just watching guys now, but we got to take a look at it and show you that the Browns have been consistently taking some of these guys and investing in the trenches without the quarterback, and it hasn't worked. Let me show you. Because that's a lot of people are advocating, give me a dual Carter. And I get it. If I had a quarterback, I'd take a dual Carter. If I had, if I had the quarterback, I'd take Travis Hunter right here. But here's the problem. If you had the quarterback and chances are you're not going to be drafting 3 and something unless that quarterback got hurt for the year. So no, you don't have the quarterback, right? You have some pieces and parts on the team like Myles Garrett. All right. But let's show you that it's not the same. People have been thinking that the Browns are drafting quarterbacks every single year high. They're not. They haven't. Let's get to you, man. Let's take a look at it. 1999, Tim Couch. So they took him first overall, right? Notice the only 2 players that they've taken in the top 3 when it comes to quarterbacks have been Tim Couch and Baker Mayfield. And those individuals are the only quarterbacks that have taken the Browns to the playoffs. So the draft capital that they spent high at quarterback, Baker Mayfield and Tim Couch, those are the guys who took the Browns to the playoffs. Notice how they take them high. So all this reach back and get back to 7 and 8 and 10 and let me move back and we might be able to get something. It hadn't worked out for us. How's about to those people that say, you know what, G. Bush, let's build through the trenches. Well, let's go in 2000. Number 1 overall, Courtney Brown. Some of y'all don't know him. Some of y'all might not know Courtney Brown. Took him number 1 overall. If you don't know his face, that's because he really didn't do nothing in the league. Didn't really do nothing. Let's go back to it. Let's go. Hey, the next year, Gerard Warren. All right. You know, how many know him? Y'all know Gerard? Y'all know this guy? Probably not, because he didn't make nobody's Hall of Fame. He didn't make nobody's All Pros. He's not in the Ring of Fame. That's 2 picks in the first 3 years of your existence that you took the number 1 pick, defensive end, number 3 pick, defensive tackle. Shall I keep going? G. Bush, they got it built through the draft. Okay, well, look, 2002, they drafted a running back. Okay, William Green, right? Then they came back the very next year at pick number 21. I had to dig deep to find this dude's picture. Y'all know this guy? That's Jeff Fain. He's a center. They took him in the 20s. Build through the offensive line, G. Bush, in the trenches. So you got Courtney Brown, Gerard Warren, and Jeff Fain all in the trenches. Let's keep it going. Let's go to 2006. First round pick. Let's get to Cameron Wembley, edge rusher. Build in the trenches, G. Bush. There you go. I had to dig deep to find these pictures. You probably won't recognize him. Some people might think that's Jameer Miller. No, that's your number out of Florida State, Cam Wembley. He didn't do nothing either. I'm just going to keep going. Building them trenches, right? Let's continue to go. Now, look, 2009, they took Alex Mack. Alex Mack was a nice pick. He was a Pro Bowler, good lineman. Look, but as you can still see, they're still drafting linemen, right? Took him. You drafted Joe Hayden in 2010. You drafted Phil Taylor. Went back to Phil Taylor. Phil Taylor had a decent career. Injuries cut it short, but I mean, would you take a nose tackle at 20? He's supposed to be a stopper, right? Phil Taylor. I mean, that ain't nothing to write home about. Let's keep it real. You keep going that year, right? Look, you go back to 2013. Let's get to Barkevious Mingo. Anybody remember this guy? He had a nasty number 2. No one wears 51. Nasty work. And he had a crazy nickname, Kiki Mingo. I don't. You drafted him out of LSU, and you drafted him and kept it pushing. What year was that? Numbers, you drafted him 6 overall. 6 overall. G. Bush, the Browns are always negating. They're not going in the trenches. Oh, really? They're not? Let me go back to 2015. They got so crazy in the trenches this year. They took this guy. Where he at? Let me find him. Let me put him back in. No. You know, I need the picture. Where are we at? Where are we at? Boy. Let me see. Am I missing this? What? Danny Shelton. I had his picture on the front of the cover. Danny Shelton. They drafted a nose tackle out of Washington with the number 12 pick in the draft. Number 12, Danny Shelton. But then they came back with 2 first-round picks. Came back and said, we're going to get the trenches again. Cam Irving at 19. They said he was supposed to play tackle, but he is center. But G. Bush, get you a lineman every year, you'll be good. Lineman is safe and dependable. They don't bust like that. Why are we taking all these skill positions? We're running up there trying to grab these skill positions. No, actually, they wasted 2 picks on that on 2015 with a defensive tackle and a center. Never seen such. Then they ain't start to hit nothing until they got Myles Garrett number 1 the next year. They hit on that pick in 2017. Myles Garrett is a Hall of Famer, right? But let's keep it pushing. They hit on that one. But you notice we didn't win nothing. They hit on Joe Thomas way back up in 2007. You notice we didn't win nothing. Came back again in 2020, right? Came back again in 2020. And what did we do? We drafted offensive line again. Good old Jed Wills. Good old Jed Wills is what we came with. So, I just needed to show, maybe y'all, I don't know what age group y'all in, but I'm old enough to remember when we was taking L's. I'm old enough to remember when we are taking some of these linemen every single year and they're panning out to be nothing. But see, the realistic part about it is, people believe that linemen have some sort of a aura around them where just because you're not really familiar with them and people don't talk about linemen from year to year, they kind of be like, oh, we'll give him a couple of years and see how he pans out. No one calls a lineman a bust immediately unless they're a top 5 tackle and they're just garbage and they can't get on the field. But people do this every year. No one goes up to the front of to the class and on the podium and says, listen, this guy, this pick at left tackle is horrible. Oh, they got their tackle for 10 years. No, they don't. You got these defensive tackles running around here not making no plays, and you're wasting these high draft picks on them. And by the way, I can go back and say, there's just not those. What about the Siaki Ika, the Tommy Togiais, the Perion Winfreys? These guys. Right? We just spent another pick on Mike Hall. My thing is, how many picks you want? I actually don't believe this. I think people be selling this. People don't really be believing this. People be trying to say to themselves that they really believe that's the way to go. No, you don't. You don't believe that. You know what you believe? You believe that pick is not, it has a lower bust factor, and at least you can say you can deal with something. They're like, listen, at least I can have something that's tangible as a defensive end that's going to give me 6 sacks. But if we take a quarterback and he busts, we're going to be right back in the same position. And I agree, you are. But please stop acting like these guys are fail safe. And please stop acting like the Cleveland Browns don't do it. I just named you all of these draft picks that are in the top 10 and they've hit on 2. I give him 3. Alex Mack, I like, but Alex Mack, he didn't retire as a Brown. He ended up playing for the Falcons. Alex Mack, I like him. You got Joe Thomas, who's a Hall of Famer, Myles Garrett, who's a Hall of Famer. And through that whole list, how many wins did you get? You haven't even been past the first round of the playoffs with any of those guys. So I digress. With that being said, you let me know. Am I just tripping on it? Or do you still believe that you should take linemen every single year, and a lineman you could take over quarterback? We'll see. I'm not right all the time, but look, man, it seems obvious to me. With that being said, you never know when G. Bush might show up, radio, television, internet, but you want to press cut on sports. The barbershop is here, and I got the Clippers with me. Have a great rest of your evening. And as always, go Browns.